Hey there. Welcome to White Women Wake Up. I'm Karen.
And I'm Jonelle.
Together, we're diving into real, unfiltered conversations about what it means to wake up as white women in a world shaped by bias, power dynamics, and inherited patterns. We're here to challenge norms, examine our assumptions, and foster empathy through raw intergenerational dialogue. It's not always easy, and we don't always agree, but we show up anyways. Let's wake up together.
Let's wake up.
Hi.
Hi, Karen.
How are you?
Good.
Today's, we were supposed to from last week. Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped right in.
Wow.
You said good, and I didn't even say.
Good. Great. Let's move on. I don't care how you are. I mean, audience members know we spend a lot of time together. So half of the how are you is just politeness.
Yes.
We know how we're doing. But Karen and I have actually had a break for like a week from each other. Yeah, a week or so. I haven't seen each other in a while.
You?
Well, I'm good. I feel a little overstepped. No, just kidding. I'm fine. I feel good.
Hey, our reflection, coded language.
Coded language. Okay. And remind the audience, so C was for context.
Yes.
O was for othering. D was for...
Oh my gosh.
Denial. And
no.
Yeah, denial. Like if they would deny.
Oh, if they wouldn't give you more context.
If they'd more,
would deny.
Yes,
yeah.
Denial. I even remember your topic.
Yeah.
And E is for echo chamber or echo.
Repeating it.
Yes.
Repeating it.
Yeah.
So I actually thought a lot this week more about like the adjectives I used.
Yeah.
And then whether those adjectives, that echo chamber that you were talking about, would be in agreement with other people.
Yeah.
So like, for example, we use that example of the guy using the word weird, and we weren't sure if they were coming from two different places. So I kept thinking about like the word liberal, for example. Like in my world, liberal means one thing, and it's not negative. In another world, liberal means another thing. And it is negative. And so it's just, I don't know.
Yet, liberal is actually not a contextual or detailed word.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
No.
When you think about it, like we even had a conversation with a family friend of ours who is definitely more on the Republican side, but even considers himself maybe moderate now.
Yeah.
And it was interesting how many values him and like us shared from those perspectives.
Yeah.
How many things that we really wanted to see for our country and how many, like there were way more overlapping shared values than there were disconnect.
Yeah.
And so it is interesting when we do use these coded descriptors for people, liberal, Republican,
or conservative,
you know, how it really does detach us. And hence why it goes back to dog whistle politics, because it's a political tactic to kind of differentiate. And so it is going about like getting into the details, don't having the shortcut of conversations, but like being clear on what you kind of mean when you say liberal versus...
Well, and we can catch our own self because like when you said the D again about the details, we know if we don't have to describe something, whether we're using kind of coded language of the people we're talking with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah.
And so...
But it's also so interesting, as we've talked about too, how many times have we gotten into a conversation where we are not giving detail to the context because we just assume we're on the same page, and then come to find out, like one of us might get triggered because the other person is a completely different assumption than what we're coming with. And because we didn't take the time, we were using short language. We're using coded terms.
Yeah. And it also, that language of othering, like is our coded language othering someone? It just kind of reminds me of when you're in like kindergarten and someone tells a secret and you're not supposed to be in on the secret. It's like coded that only the two of you understand why that meaning means something. And so it's so funny. We never really do grow up, do we?
No, we don't.
Okay, your topic
My topic. Okay. So I feel like I'm a little bit of a broken record with the last couple topics I've talked about. Because it's still on the topic of appropriation.
Okay.
But it's appropriation in a different space in our life that is very fitting to white women. The wellness space.
Oh.
So I want to talk a lot about...
How is that appropriation?
I'm glad you asked,
Yeah.
Karen. No, I want to talk about like one, our obsession with wellness and how it's truly focused on a core of a white woman obsession and a capitalist obsession. But 3, how it also, so much of it is actually appropriated from other cultures. So the first big example.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like yoga, for example.
Yes.
Yes.
Yoga, the
Were you going to
classic.
use that one?
Yes, yoga is the biggest appropriation classic of it, of what white women culture. I mean, think, when is the last time you have gone to yoga and your instructor has not been white?
Yeah. No,
I mean, they've always been white. And so, and it's not to say that some, again, like the conversation about authors a couple weeks ago, it's not to say that some yoga instructors aren't great and give, honoring and homage to the culture. But for the most part, it is very whitewashed in our culture. I think a lot of people might not even know its histories. It's rooted in South Asian, spiritual cultures. So like around Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, it's really the roots of those and not necessarily a fitness mantra. It's more a spiritual mantra and has been taken over by fitness and wellness. Other things that I think are really interesting, but probably not surprising, sage burning practices like that.
I love to do that.
I know. See, we do sage burning.
It just feels so good.
And again, there's nothing wrong with doing this. It's the way we capitalize it and not honor. Same thing, meditation and mindfulness.
Yeah.
A lot of those traditions. And then these are some, I think, newer trending ones, but like Reiki or sound baths. Have you been? My friend recently went to a sound bath retreat. It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But, there's not a lot of...
I don't know the history of a sound bath.
Yeah. So sound baths are really indigenous around like indigenous cultures around the world. There's a lot of indigenous cultures in South Asia too. So Tibet is one, where the singing bowls, and it's really interesting. You have a lot of
singing bowl.
For context, for anyone who doesn't know Karen well, Karen has a lot of she surrounds herself by musical instruments.
Yes.
So she has these,
and I can't play a thing.
And most she can't at all.
Little guitar.
But most of them are like mini ones, because we've tried to get her big ones. I got her a big, what was that, xylophone one year for Christmas. She was really into it for like 3 weeks, and then it's disappeared. But these mini ones, these teeny ones, if we ever get a sponsor, it needs to be for miniature instruments.
Yeah.
But she has all these tiny instruments so one is like a mini singing bowl. I think you do also have a mini gong.
Yeah,
you have you have this mini little piano pick.
Yeah.
And so she just it soothes her. She finds time in her day, and especially before night, to just do some musical notes.
I love
to just calm her. And stuff. And so, those are a lot of, but even things like, as I started digging into this, but even things like detoxes, clean eating, like colon hydrotherapy, all of that stuff are perpetually rooted in colonialism around, reinforcing fat phobia, reinforcing ableism, reinforcing eliteness, because so many of these are higher priced things that are
Wait, I'm kind of
sorry.
confused with your topic.
I think I went too far.
Are you saying, because I like, are you saying that the way that we've capitalized on these things end up, like, these things aren't negative.
Yes.
But the way that we then capitalize are advertised in a way that they fulfill our colonial mindset?
A little bit. It's a combination of, yes, your sound, all of meditation, none of these are unhealthy practices. But it is, you're right, it is kind of the constant narrative we feed one around them of how wellness is better. Wellness is this kind of elite status that you need to continue to attain. So that's one. The other thing is truly just borrowing from these cultures, and one, changing things, or two, not giving credit to things.
Yeah.
So it's really just the appropriation in borrowing, but it's also appropriation in profiting off of these traditions while not giving homage to the traditions. It's also about erasing and excluding people who didn't create it. So if you look at a lot of these things, like talking about this sound baths, talking about Reiki healing, talking about, meditation retreats, a lot of these are very expensive and really geared towards more elite audiences, geared towards white women who tend to who on average make 6 times more than their household incomes is 6 times more than the average woman of color. And so there's a lot more opportunity for wealth and time to do these things. And so
I guess one of the things that you're really good at is what do we need to think about this when it comes to our audience? Like, for example, you know, I don't know what, like these are good things. They're not bad things. Do you feel like it's like we're making it a negative story for those people who can't afford it? Like, what are you trying to help us understand in your context of this?
So I think what I'm trying to help understand is like,
do we put a value association to it? Like, you're a better person if you do this? And if you don't do this, you're not as good of a person, or you don't fit within our white standards. Therefore, you're not as good.
Yes.
And yet, to do these things, often there's a big price tag associated with, so not everyone can do them.
Well, I think I think all of the above. And I think what I'm really more trying to get at, too, is the wellness industry in general, the toxicity that it brings, not just to our community, but really rooted in white women. So if you take at the baseline of the wellness industry, so much of it is pitting women against each other.
Yeah, okay.
Pitting women against each other.
That's your core there.
So that's the start of the core. But that's the start that I think a lot of white women are aware of. And stuff. And so it pits us against each other. It talks about, the fat phobia, the ableism, like the white elitism. To be bigger, better, or smaller, better, stronger. So that is the core that I think a lot of us have recognized and are kind of fed up with. But then as we see so often with these white women issues, there's always that secondary layer where it's dismissed people of color. And we've dismissed the harm that wellness has done to people of color or marginalized audiences. And we've only focused on the harm that wellness has done to white women. And so that's what I'm kind of stepping back to say, like...
Wait. Unpack that again, or say that again.
Okay.
So when you use the word wellness has only harmed white women, the wellness...
No, I'm not saying it hasn't only harmed, but like so many things we look at from our perspective is we only look at the white women lens. So I'm saying
I agree.
Yeah, so I'm saying there's layers to this is in the wellness culture. White women so often has examined how there's fat phobia in wellness, how there's, competitiveness in wellness. And we've examined that as it affects white women. So we have body positivity trends. We have all of these things that we go after because they affect us. But the other layer there is, again, marginalized and people of color communities that we have not touched on that are also harmful. The wellness community is also harmful to them. And based potentially even more harmful than the things we're talking about because it's double layered. They also have the fat phobia. They also have the elitism. They also have the money value driven system. Plus they have the appropriation against them. They have the gatekeeping against them. And so it just is, I think what I'm trying to do, and thank you for kind of making me tether this out, is like, we talk about topics like appropriation is the generalized stance, but I think I wanted to try to like tether out smaller areas that affect our life. So like the authorship before, we all love, not all of us, but you and I really enjoy reading books. We know a lot of audience or members do. So thinking about appropriation in that context, now it's kind of in this wellness journey of ours, how I'm sure most white women out there have been to a gym and felt bad about themselves. But have you been to a yoga class and thought, why are white people profiting and we're not, giving it back to India kind of thing? Probably not. And so I think that I'm trying to get us to examine the second layers of... Does that make sense?
I see. Okay, so you're trying... The second layer would be appropriation.
Yes.
Okay, so you're trying to have us say, why is it... It's kind of interesting because when you say that, it reminds me of land acknowledgements, right?
Yes.
Like when we're in places... I was a little indifferent initially about all the land acknowledgements because I felt like, oh my gosh, what are we talking about? I want to go to this conference and I just want to talk about the conference. But the reality is the land acknowledgement does become that source of recognizing that this is not our space.
Yes.
So would there be something when we are doing yoga other than namaste that would give us some acknowledgement to where these traditions came from? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I think that's still such a granular point in this, because having every studio, every person, we can't affect those people.
Yeah.
But I think it's about our own intentions of maybe what studio we choose to go to. Is it a studio that honors the heritage of it?
Yeah.
Is it a studio that maybe has a Indian, coach, an Indian teacher? Is it, things in that manner?
So it's interesting because now, we're opening ourselves up to bigger stories and bigger narratives. One of the things that I really appreciated you when we talked about the plantations, for example, is instead of being all or nothing, one of the things that you said is, can we actually tell its original story?
Yes.
And its original story has to be told.
Yeah.
Right? And so acknowledging that original story. So one thing when you were talking about appropriation and talking about mindfulness and stuff, I listened to this podcast, Tara Brach, and she's a Buddhist teacher. And in her conversation, she's constantly talking about, she goes back and forth between how you meditate today, but how you also, where these histories came from, who taught her these processes. And she's so knowledgeable that she's able to articulate these ideas as she's discussing current ideas. And maybe this is what you're talking about is, when we're doing some of these new ideas, sorry about that. When we're doing some of these newer ideas, can we indeed give credit to where these
What do you mean by newer ideas?
So newer ideas for me today is meditating today for Karen, right? Or in the presence, in the moment.
So meditation is not a new idea,
it's
but
not
for
a new
you,
idea,
a new
but
practice.
For me, it's a new practice.
When you take on a new practice.
When I take on a new practice, the people that are guiding me in that practice, helping me to find the histories around that practice. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, I mean, a little bit, but I think it's honoring. So, yes, if that's what you choose to do.
I do have to say, I do gravitate towards that, because another person I follow is Richard Rohr, Center for Action and Contemplation.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I love about Richard Rohr is he gives me a lot of history, church history, and why I might believe in certain things in church history.
Yeah.
So maybe one of the things you're saying is we're kind of missing an opportunity, is not practice in it, not to have wellness, but to not cheapen it, in a way,
it's shifting our wellness narrative too.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple things with wellness that have gone too far with capitalism, as I talked about, and so it's capitalizing on these approaches that are definitely appropriation. I think the other thing was, we talked about, wellness is all about me. It creates a more this self-wellness is much more become a self-focused narrative. And so because of that, though, it starts to gatekeep from communities. Again, look around in your gym, look around in your classes, how many people color, how many people without accessibility are there and stuff. And so it's about building community places for wellness, and it's about, again, doing your understanding and your work to where these practices come from.
When you're having this conversation, things that are coming up in my head it's actually almost the opposite to me, because what I hear from you, let's use the example, I don't know, whatever. Let's just use some exercise. I do that exercise because my friends are doing it. And my friends are white, and so there's this normalized standard that it goes back to our colonial mindset of normalized standards of why I might do something.
Yeah.
Rather than, as someone who's become someone who's older, one of the things that I now do is I sit there, I don't actually even listen to what anyone else does, and I say, I like to walk because in walking, I can listen to my podcast, I can get exercise, and I can do this. I like to swim because swimming, I need to move all over. I like to meditate because it allows me to slow my mind down. So I wonder if one of the things that you're getting at here is because we go to these kind of fast solutions or solutions that are broadly popularized, especially because we are in white communities, popularized by the normative white woman. We are not taking the time to actually be authentic about what works for us. And then in that authenticity, beginning to advocate, wait, I need spaces for a larger body, or I need spaces that are quieter. I need spaces that are inclusive of this, that we just are so like, this fits this one size category. And that's what we're going to say is the best kind of wellness.
And it's not even about I, it's about we. It's about what's better. And so I think like great examples, like so you were spot on there that you're right. I think you are much more progressive in your wellness journey than maybe a lot of white women kind of thing with this like drive for the gym. And maybe it is age, but this drive for the gym and the drive for spin cycle classes and the drive for all of this kind of stuff and the competitiveness, and it's not accessible to everyone. And again, going back, I think continuous yoga is a great example. Yoga is expensive. It's not accessible to a lot of people and stuff in the US. Now, I think a great example of bringing this into a more accessible culture that like honors people is we think about when we went to Thailand or even when we went to Hong Kong and all of these people who would gather in the park for stretching sessions. And it's one person leading it and it's free and it's it's a daily community event kind of thing. Those are the cultural things around wellness that I think we've lost a lot in our society, and we've lost in this capitalist.
And guess what? We're going to lose more, because the minute you started saying about expensive this and that, one of the things that I have benefited is from public spaces. I go to the public pool. I go to the public gym. I go to the public library. All of the things that I do are public. And as we are commodifying things, such as, private health clubs, private pools, private this, everyone doesn't have access to this. And so it's interesting. You're kind of touching on a couple different subjects.
It's a little wider.
Your first subject is, can we acknowledge where some of these practices have come from? And can we... oops, sorry, listeners. I thought I had my do not disturb. So
I have to say that's pretty impressive in 38 episodes.
That's
that we've had one phone call.
But anyways, one of the things I was going to say is, so one of the things you're talking about is, can we acknowledge where some of these health well-beings, where they came from? And I think one of the things, if I hear from you correctly, or if I translate it in my own mind, is by acknowledging where and why these things happened, we might learn something about ourselves. So, for example, like a sound bath, right? Maybe I do need to isolate. Maybe I do need to get into nature. Maybe I do need to have a place that is not crowded with ideas. Okay, that might be the benefit of understanding why that. No, I'm just saying, if we get to know the heritage of a wellness technique.
And you're right. I am not making my point very clear, but like
But I think that there's something about
But I think there's something about it.
And then I think it would come off in our stories. Like, I'm doing this because this technique, as an ancient ritual, did this. Did this. It's interesting because when we talk about wellness, it fits in so many things. And our listeners, my mother passed away a year ago, and I have done a lot of more ancestral research than I would have done in the past, and I'm very interested in Indigenous persons and their ancestral philosophies. And so I guess what I'm hearing is, by understanding the heritage, by not just buying in
Yeah.
to something. Like, I don't know a lot about the heritage of yoga. I love to do yoga. The yoga instructor I follow is a white woman. And the only thing that I know about yoga is at the end, you say namaste, right? And so maybe it would be good for me to do some research. Like,
Yeah.
why is this beneficial for my stretching, for my health, my wellness? And I think if I did that history, I might naturally give credit to that space.
Yes.
Like I was talking about that podcaster, Tara Brock. She's knows so much about the history.
Yes.
She naturally gives credit to that space.
Yes. Yes. And I think what I'm kind of going with now is yes.
So it was something that bothered you that you wanted to bring into this space.
When we give credit and we start to remove the capitalist piece, we can open up, and I guess that's kind of a far stretch, but I guess the more we can start giving credit, the more we start to have appreciation, I think the more we will start looking at wellness journeys as a community effort and not an individual effort. And that starts breaking down the capitalist piece, which will make it accessible.
Yeah.
Because I also think that is a large issue of it is not accessible. And you talk about, grief was a great wellness. It's also like therapy. Therapy is not really accessible to a lot of people. I'm really lucky right now. I have a great program I'm in to make therapy really accessible to me, but that has not been the case all of the time.
Yeah.
And so,
and not for many people.
And not for most people. No, I'm just in a really lucky position about it right now. And so I think all of these wellness things, it's how can we build more community wellness? And I think, again, awareness of some of this.
And it's interesting when you talk about community too, is one of the things we know with the colonized mindset or colonial mindset, whatever, is that we created this standard, and this standard was predominantly white, predominantly, whatever that standard was. We created this standard. And then if you didn't fit within that standard, you weren't part of that community.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're learning now is that that's a community. Let it be a community. But there's all these other beautiful communities that when we really get to find out who we are and what we want, can those type of communities become more public spaces?
Yeah.
I think meetups were an example of that people said, hey, you and I, now whether they're successful or not, I don't know, new things will come by it, but it said, we're interested in this and let's make a community endeavor around this.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what I'm hearing you say. Yes, wellness, okay, you've put it in this box, you've commodified it, you've said we as white people own it.
Yeah.
Can we push that away now?
Yeah.
And can we rediscover it based on its inherent, its
benefits, its heritage,
why it started to begin with.
Yeah.
And then why it started to begin with, can we, is that something that relates to us, and can we find community around it?
I mean, again,
because we all need wellness. We all need to be healthy. We all need.
And this is it. And you're right. I'm forgetting so much of the research I did. There's so many books I pulled, Decolonizing Wellness.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Book I read, Decolonizing Therapy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Such a great thing. Rest is Resistance. It's called the NAP Ministry, Healing Justice, Caring Work, The Wellness Trap. So all talking about how wellness is kind of sold to us as this privilege when really wellness is just a human right.
Yeah.
And so...
isn't that funny, too, when you use the language human right, and we, within our government system, is taking away that human right.
Totally.
And what a beautiful thing public spaces are.
Yeah.
Like when you did talk about the place, that those people in Hong Kong that were all doing their exercises publicly within the park.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is interesting, Jonelle. So what I hear...
It's a kind of, again, I did a big umbrella, and I'm feeling a little bit like you when you did the land things about was there anything tangible I even gave the audience members? You know how you were like, I'm going to sell my land. And I'm like, okay, let's step it back. Let's ruin capitalism.
I think you are asking me to look at how wellness has been commodified.
Yeah.
How has wellness
And how we bought into that.
How we bought into it. How has the wellness trap fit within a specific standard? And then it has taken it away from human wellness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Community wellness.
Community wellness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So
wow.
Think on that, listeners.
Okay, so I'm going to think on that. Okay, I'm going to think about that.
Okay.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Thank you for joining us on White Women Wake Up. There's always an interesting topic. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. And it sparked some reflection, a new question, deeper commitment to showing up with empathy and accountability. If you found this episode meaningful, subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You can also connect with us on Instagram, YouTube, or White Women Wake Up or Substack. We'd love to hear your thoughts and keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay curious, be open, and let's keep waking up together.
Keep waking up. Bye.
We are stripesies today, Jonelle. Twinsies.
I went to the dentist the other day and she asked how you were, and then she goes, "You really do look and remind me so much of your mother."
No. That's funny. Oh, my gray hair. Okay.
That's rude. I was hoping she's assuming because we're adorable. You can be self-deprecating. You don't need to be it to me.